Well, this is our first podcast back since, well, Halloween, and nothing's more fitting than post-Halloween than to have our guest today. Please welcome Michael Vampire from Vampires Everywhere. Good Lord, tongue-tied. Anyway, Michael, thank you for coming aboard, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. So it's fitting. We wish we could have got you in Halloween night. That would have been really spectacular. But we're still in Samhain, I believe. We're still in the fall harvest. So we think we have until the 6th where Halloween is still in effect. So thank you for joining us. And we couldn't think of any better guests than this. So real quick, man, we got to start. You have a new EP out, The Awakening, but you also have a very inspired cover of The Weeknd's The Hill. How did this come to be, man?
It rules, by the way. Good job.
I appreciate it.
I mean, we're talking left field thinking on this one.
Well, I mean, Vampires Everywhere in itself, like we started in 2010, we always did like these obscure covers. But I've been listening to The Weeknd nonstop, The Weeknd in the midnight. So it's kind of on my rotation that I'm listening to. I'm like, dude, I have to do a song by The Weeknd. And I felt like this one, I can kind of have that, low kind of evil verse and that really hard chorus. I think it just kind of resonated to me, and the lyrics resonate to me. So yeah, I really dig it. I think it came out cool.
It's funny you just mentioned midnight, because I think about you guys. I think about midnight. I think of Tribulation. Some of the kind of some of the more modern bands they're taking on kind of that goth kind of this legacy from the 80s. Right. Were you highly inspired by bands like Sisters of Mercy and Susie and the Banshees and The Cure and all those as growing up?
I think The Cure would be the front runner on that. Susie and the Banshees and Sisters of Mercy. I mean, when I was signed to Century Media, Mike Gitter introduced me to Sisters of Mercy. He's like, this is around 2010. He's like, you have to know this to be a goth. And I remember
it sounds very Gitter, by the way.
Yeah, it is very Gitter. And I was like, all right, man. And then when I was on Victory, Tony was like, you need to listen to Susie and the Banshees. I haven't listened to Susie and the Banshees before that, but I do dig them. It's not in my rotation, but I do like them. Yeah, I dig it.
I'd be remiss not to say Bauhaus, of course, and kind of the Peter Murphy angle. Yeah. So yeah, I had to slip that in there. Yeah. But so new EP's out. It's been a while. What brought you guys back together, and what got it going?
The pandemic was kind of crazy. I kept things going with my other band, Dead Girls Academy, and we had a lot of weird things going on with the label at the time and stuff like that. And the fans were connecting, but they weren't connecting in a way where I felt it was going to a place where it would have longevity. And I know everybody was really like yearning for this band to come back, always messaging me, where's Vampires Everywhere? Are you going to bring it back? And I had a lot of opportunities with all this new emo rap and all that stuff coming out, where I was being hit up for collaborations, but they wanted it as Vampires Everywhere because I did something with Motionless White in the past and all that. Mm-hmm. So they wanted that kind of nostalgic vibe. So I was like, you know what? There's no better time than now. I feel like the timing was perfect. I was planning on bringing it back, and I just felt like this was the time, right? Fresh out of the pandemic, fresh onto the tour, onto a tour, and just giving people what they wanted at that time. And it's my baby band. I never lost touch with it. It's always been part of me. I never took the vampire out of my name from it. Mm-hmm. It's just who I am. So it feels good to have peel back the banana a little bit and show everybody, oh, you remember me. This is the person that you wanted around, and I'm back. So
I got a question. Yeah. So I was reading, because I'm not sure. I couldn't find any information on who's currently in the band with you. Is it the same last lineup as 2016, or is it like new folks?
It's all new.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's hard, man. It's a revolving door with people, and the lineup I have now it seems pretty copacetic, and everybody really, really wants to be part of it. And that's the thing. You have to have everybody that's you want a gung ho lineup. That's ride or die. And, when you go on the road and you're stuck in a bus or a bandwagon, whatever it is, for a long period of time, it's like, you have a girlfriend, and before they move in, you think she's one way and then she's another. That's kind of how this goes, but with 5 other people. So you discover who you can live with and who you cannot, and who can pull the weight and who cannot. And this lineup's good. It's a good one.
You guys are all in Vegas now, right? Or back in Los Angeles?
Majority. We got a couple out here. We got a couple in LA, and then some now in Philadelphia.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was trying to look up to see who was in the band, if I knew any of the guys you're playing with, or don't want to assume maybe there's females in there too, but I couldn't find it, and then I had to ask because I saw that you transplanted in this period of time from LA to Vegas.
I have, yes.
So you've been really busy during the pandemic, not only just by creating and bringing back bringing back your band and creating new music, but also finding people, like you said, copacetic, the people who get together and stay together, and then planning a tour and all this other stuff. I wanted to ask, with these new guys, you guys coming out of this sort of like hibernation period, how did it feel to be on the road this past October for the first time in 4 years?
Insane. Even with my past band, it was 3 years since we went on tour with POD, and when I brought this back, our first 2 shows were festivals. One being incarceration. So I had to learn how to breathe again. That was one thing. Oh, that's what it's like to step on stage and sing and scream.
That's a big audience to breathe in front of.
It was interesting. But it was fulfilling. After that, I think I got my sea legs. And so when we got back onto this tour, rediscovering my positioning, what I'm supposed to look like, how to breathe, how to warm up. Even the people that came into the bus, so, where do they sit? How does it work? It's kind of crazy to think about all these minor things, but they all took a while. And obviously we've all been pretty, I've been working the entire time on music, on an entertainment company. I have too, but it feels like you just hatched out of an egg, man. And you're like, oh, okay, here we go. And that's what it's been like,
Reminds me of that scene from Spinal Tap, where you just said hashing out of an egg, where the bass player's in there and then all of a sudden comes out at the very end of the set. I can imagine that's how it feels like for a quick moment until you realize, okay, cool, this is what we do, this is how I do it.
I think it's very fitting, though. You got new guys, so with your name, Fresh Blood, is very appropriate.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, can you give us a kind of a lowdown on how you came to be? How did Vampires Everywhere come from? And can you give us the Lost Boys connection, if you don't mind?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we started the Lost Boys connection, man. I did an interview not long ago with Knotfest, and it was all about Lost Boys, and I've had some crazy experiences with them. But I've been a fan since I was a little kid, and I remember my guitar player at the time. We both were. I was a bass player in this kind of this Disney project they were doing, and it was terrible, man. And the guitar player was a metal guy, and I'm like, look, I think I should sing and scream some stuff, and I think you should play with me. And I think we should name it after the Lost Boys. And we tried to name it the Lost Boys, and it was taken. So I was like, well, let's just name it after the comic book in the Lost Boys, Vampires Everywhere. And at the time, we didn't think about that. We didn't think through on that, because at the time, Twilight had just come out. And I made no connection with this, man. I made no connection. I didn't even read the books. I had no idea. And we gained a lot of traction really fast. I mean, before we even got signed, we were in MTV Headbangers Ball, and we garnered like 500,000 views on YouTube in a week, and all this stuff's happening. And we ended up getting signed to Century Media and all that. And I didn't make the connection with the Twilight thing and that. So we had a lot to battle about me, going, no, it's the comic book in the movie, The Lost Boys. And it took a while for people to catch on. I don't think it was until 2013 that people were just like, I get it, and I get what you're trying to do. It's an evil band. It's a horror-based band. You're not trying to sparkle. But I was in a near fatal car accident, and that's basically why I wanted the whole vampire thing. I was actually killed in a near fatal car accident touring in Florida, where a drunk driver hit our van and sent me into a coma, and my drummer at the time in a different band. So when I had survived this whole experience, about 2 years of recovery, I wanted to do something that had that longevity, like being immortal, never dying, living forever, obviously correlating with the movie and my love for it, but it all has special meaning to me coming together.
It's so because it's such an obscure reference. I mean, that's a 2-second piece of that film that I think most people will get lost on, unless you, like you said, you're a fan of the film, all the little nuances of it. Like Chad said, you just got off the road. You guys just did like a month-long tour. What was it like? What was the fan reaction like? Because we've talked to artists who've been on the road or maybe just done a couple one-off festivals, and the reaction to the fans, just to be happy to be back out and feeling somewhat normal at a show. And now, obviously, you guys getting back together. What was the fan reaction like for you guys?
Well, it's kind of incredible to start with, going across the entire United States, you're getting all these restrictions in your emails from the promoters, oh, this is going to be like this, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this. But it really wasn't like that at all until we hit Portland, Seattle, and Los Angeles. So basically, it was like we were on tour and nothing ever happened. There wasn't all these regulations going through all these parts. So it was kind of surreal. But I mean, as far as people coming out and loving it, enjoying it, we had a lot of diehard fans, people that, I didn't know what to expect, man. But we had a lot of diehard fans come out that have the tattoos of the Batagram, which is our logo. Mm-hmm. A lot of people bought VIPs to come see me and brought the Vampires Everywhere comic books and had all these old CDs to sign. So it was really cool and surreal to see our diehard fans come out and show their support. I mean, I'm very thankful for that because, dude, I don't know. I had no idea what to expect. Zero idea.
The funny thing, I would have loved if you guys would have written back to the promoters saying, you know what, vampires can't get sick, can't get die, we can't get ill, but we must feed.
Exactly.
That would have been a great response. The second, let me ask you, maybe Chad can help me with this too, because Wilson, his band, had fans who get the tattoo, the logo. Is there another responsibility, or is that just a fan going off on their own? Is there a responsibility? Do you feel like I've got to really deliver for this cat? I'm with this person forever now.
Oh, absolutely. Let's put it this way. I get freaked out at the merch booth, man. I get freaked out at VIPs. I don't even know what to say. When someone when someone buys your body of work, you're just like, wow. You feel really, I feel like, oh, that's so amazing that you did that. But wow, do I feel weird that you like me that much? And the tattoo is like, yo,
yeah,
I need to deliver, but that's for sure. Yeah.
Chad, what's your take on that?
Well, see, we just listened to a beautiful story about life and death and how the band name and all the pieces came together. My band, Wilson, was out of pure necessity of a name for a college, like a flyer while we were in college, that said, hey, you want to play my frat party? And we're like, sure, man. And he's like, what do we put on the flyer? And we said, fucking put Wilson on it. And we had no idea what was going to happen. So moving forward, we have these big W's, like it's like a middle finger skull hands. So my feeling when I see it is I'm always like, but also like that was part of the fucking culture of what it was, to just be funny. So I would assume that like with you having so many layers like an onion to what this is, it probably has a little bit more oomph to it than like me, who said, I wasn't even supposed to be here today and somehow made it. And now you have a tattoo here, so yeah, that's my take. Just.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, man, because, a lot of these people, a lot of fans that I deal with on the regular are having a rough time. They're having a really rough time. I mean, being androgynous and wearing the makeup, especially for a dude, it's like a whole other level of weird for a lot of people, and them sporting the tattoo or that kind of stuff. They always hit me up about having just a hard time in life and getting through things. So I think that, when I see that on someone that I know, because you're I mean, it's weird to say this, but you're die-hard fans, because they're always messaging you. They're always there. They're always bringing you these weird brownies and cookies.
Oh yeah.
And, you try to do your best to, make that tattoo mean something. So I try to do my best to answer them all as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the whole idea of the vulnerability of some people, goth in the goth sector, because I'm a recovering goth. In the 80s, guyliner, bolo tie, bolero hat, listened to too much Fields of the Nephilim kind of thing. So it's always so funny, but it's always great though to see that subgenre kind of resurrect itself all the time.
Yep. And
that goes back to you guys now being with Cleopatra, because they're kind of like the godfather of that whole scene. Right. So it just makes perfect sense that you guys are on it. They've kind of expanded their roster. They're very eclectic, but when I think Cleopatra, I'm like, that has a time and place to me. It's dated from that period. So it's great to see you guys on it, and that they're actually still around and happening and doing this stuff. So that's a pretty cool correlation right there.
It was cool, man. I mean, my homeboy Tim Skold, who was in Manson, he did his own little thing. I ended up seeing him on the label, and I thought that would be cool. And then I kind of investigated. I'm like, all right, Bone Thugs and Harmony, that's left field, and then, but at the same time, they like you said, I think Brian over there, starting that whole LA thing and that culture is really cool. So yeah, we were excited to put this EP out with them. I mean, it was cool to put it out with something different, because I've always been on something that would be more Warped Tour or scene based label. So this was something, a little bit off the cuff for me. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. I'm assuming it's a nice pat on. It's a nice reminder for all of the reasons why you do this, that there's still parts of the giving tree, right, that turn back around and totally, one hand washes the other after all these years. It's cool to have your act reignite and have like the Godfather essentially say NIT, like that's fucking massive, man. Cool. What made you want to be a vocalist? This is such a cliche question, but I guess I don't know if you started as a vocalist or if you were playing guitar or whatnot, but like when you were young, this transitional period of how you became the vocalist of your bands, what ignited that flame for you?
No, that's a great question, actually. I would say the egos of the past singers that I was part of, dealing with. I was kind of like the Pete Wentz of the bands. I played bass. It was always my band. It was always my lyrics, and it was always kind of me being the control master, if you will, putting everything together. But I'd always had to deal with a vocalist that was never fully dedicated or had an ego that was through the roof. And I just couldn't handle it. It's to the point where it's like, look, I'm investing a lot of my money and my time and blood into this, and I couldn't take that situation anymore. So I established my own ego and took over being a vocalist. So it definitely became an easier situation for me, because as you started saying, with the lineup, people do come and go, but as long as I'm there and hustling and doing what I have to do, things continue.
Was Vampires Everywhere your first vocal debut? Or do you have bands before this?
I've been out a bunch of bands before this. I was always kind of at the time, it was a long time ago. This is when Screamo kind of first came out. I was always the guy in the screaming or doing the background vocals, or doing, if it was a pop punk thing, I'd be doing the backup vocals. So this was my first, like, okay, I'm stepping out and I'm going to do this myself. So. Got it.
Yeah. So you really did puppet master it.
Yeah.
It's funny to see the evolution of the Screamo style bands, where they came from, everyone from Asking and everyone, the way that everyone's transitioned to that. Now it's funny. I always kind of laugh now when I see kids quite young, much younger than obviously than all of us, yourself, whatever, is like wearing like those band shirts from back in the day. I'm like, has Screamo become heritage? Is it heritage music now? Are we already at that point? Is it 10 years past to where they can call it,
I mean, I think Texas is the Reason and Braid and things like that, without those bands, we wouldn't exist, because I was in a Screamo band too, before Wilson. And I didn't want to interrupt you there, but I think it is. I think it's part of the linear history of music, much more than other people give it credit for. I'll let Michael take it from here.
No, you're absolutely right. What's kind of crazy though, man, I grew up on, like Pennywise and Hot Water Music, and when it came down to like Screamo bands that first started out, I mean, I was all into that too. But if you ask some of these, and it's crazy how the scene has changed. If you ask these emo rappers or these goth emo, there's just all this subgenres nowadays, and you ask them their favorite band, they're like, oh man, My Chem. It all came from My Chem, or it came from Taking Back Sunday or stuff like that. It's
Used,
yeah. It's all the heritage Warped Tour bands that people kind of. And when I say heritage Warped Tour bands, I mean somewhere starting around 2012. So a Sleeping with Sirens thing, or Asking Alexandra would be one, obviously. But yeah, man, it's changed. And so when I get hit up about collaborations, they want the 12 version. And I think 2012 on is what everyone's kind of looking at now as heritage. And things before that, you got to explain it. You really do got to explain it to them.
Sure. I used to work at Revelation Records, and we kind of started that whole thing with like Sensefield and all those guys. So trying to explain that, and everyone's like, well, isn't all music emotional? I'm like, it's different. It's a different thing. I can never explain emo to save my fucking life. You guys got you guys have a definition for that? Because I can never explain it. Is I think heartfelt? I don't get it.
So here's where I think the crossroads are. And Michael, you can tell me if I'm wrong here. I grew up in a small town with no available place for us to play. So I rented a shitty VFW hall, right? And this isn't about the location geographically where we're playing, but it's more or less about the ethos of the community that started to build itself around that. So when I think about all of that, I immediately bring it back to it's not the sound or the look as much as it is the first time that most of these people understood what it was to leave their house and feel that they were in a safe space of other weirdo, forward thinking, emotional people in general. And because there's somebody that they knew at the door taking their $3 while they listened to some dude screaming because he can't sing on 2 speakers on a stand, it didn't matter because you were with your people. That's how I relate it.
No, absolutely, man. I think those days playing the skate parks and stuff like that, they go a long way. I mean, a lot of people don't know what it's like to tour in back of a U-Haul, with no seats. But it's like the emo definition, man. Someone say it all starts with Sunny Day Real Estate. Some say it starts with that kind of melodic type of music. Jimmy Eat World and stuff like that and that kind of era. I mean, I don't even see even like Jawbreaker, but it's weird references, and I think the scene has changed it from time to time. But if I ask an emo kid today what Saves the Day is, I'm sure he does not know, and that saddens me.
Yeah, you really want to twist them in places. Ask them what Fugazi is or what Rites of Spring is. Any of the DC bands, they'd be like, I'm like, that's the genesis of all this stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you bring it back to that, so not to harp on my point any further, when you bring it back to what you just said, Fugazi, right? Mm-hmm. Think about what they started there in DC. I mean, sure. And what it stood for, and how that movement just had such a sonic explosion around it geographically that other people wanted to emulate it or be a part of it in their own towns. Right. And it's the same exact feeling. We don't see it, but he's going to see it because he's getting hit up by these emo SoundCloud rappers and all the stuff that's happening. That's the same thing. It's the punk rock ethos, back of your trunk, selling the CDs because nobody else gives a shit. It's the same thing that they're doing, and that all kind of like, for me, tumbleweeds into a beautiful fucking emotional
what they say
mess, if that will.
Self-empowerment for the people who feel powerless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I like that conversation. All right.
That's good. That's nice. That's nice. Now I have to break out my records. So you guys just finished this tour. The EP's cooking. You got the cover song out. What the rest of the year is kind of I guess at this point, is it a wash for bands from this point on, from like November on, or do you sneak in some shows? And
I mean, it's a toss up, man. If you want to take the chance about touring in the holidays, obviously you're having to battle the issue with the snow if you were going to go, and do the whole US. But no, I'm not touring during that time. Our next tour actually is in February, and then we're shortly after going to the UK. So yeah, we're waiting this out. It's weird. It's very frustrating because it always happens this way. It's like from a certain point in November to January, like 5th, everything freaking closes down. And you're just like, if you want something, you want to get a hold of somebody, man, they're out doing something else. So
yeah. Just to staple onto that real quick, I think it's kind of a little bit bullshit. I mean, everybody needs a vacation, but I always thought about the music industry saying, after basically Thanksgiving, we don't work again until like this January 10th. And that's great in some certain capacities, but it's not when you're on the road, because my band would always have to tour at that period of time when we started because nobody fucking cared enough to like, we were getting those like, who wants to support this band? Fucking Wilson, and the team would be like, NA, you know what I'm saying? When shit would go down. Yeah, it's absolutely. A weird little like machine.
It is.
Time of year.
It's weird because it's creative, man. I mean, if you're dealing in independent record labels, you're dealing in that kind of world. It's a bunch of creatives. Obviously with the major labels and stuff, it's a lot different. I don't think they stop. I think they keep going. It's just commercialism type thing. But I think as far as like independence, they're like, all right, man, I'm spent. I'm gonna take my time here to recollect and then come back. But there's always like, oh man, we'll be trickling in from time to time here in December before Christmas. It's like, nah, you're not trickling in. So.
Yeah. What I always imagine is like, well, a lot of a lot of this music does appeal to college age kids. They're home, they're bored.
Yeah.
Go play some club shows and go get those kids. And obviously all these stations do a Christmas show, route a few dates around that. I wouldn't go dormant, but that's just me. I'm not in management.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You know, it's like February too. You know, we're going on tour in February, and our agent, I told him, you know, let's go the southern route, because I've been stuck at the top of Mount Vale, you know, before, where I couldn't move, and I thought I was going to die. So it's a double-edged sword. But I mean, if I were to go do like a tour in Florida for about 2 weeks, I could do that.
Absolutely, yeah. You can stay up in Vale and your guitar's out of tune. Nothing's right. This is shit. Get me out of here. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you're going to London. Sorry, real quick. You're going to London in April, right? 15th?
Yeah, in April. Yeah, in April.
Is it a tour or is it just the one show? I saw just one show.
Yeah, so we wanted to do like we always come up with these different schemes of things, like, you know, what would be the best, you know, best way to put something out to get the most attention. And obviously, as the same way somebody would put out a full length, which is not kind of a thing you do anymore, right. like an EP, we wanted to do something a little bit more separate, and then focus on that, and then announce a tour that surrounds it. So it's more of ignites more of a fire, if you will.
So, okay. So you got something that's following up that, like the London thing is just the rabbit. What do they call those things? Rabbit tail? No.
Holes.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Yeah. I mean, it's our ballsy one, man. If you just like, I always do kind of things like that. I want to take the shots. You know, the underworld holds about 500 people.
Oh yeah.
Vampires. I mean, Dead Girl's been out there, but Vampires has not. So I was like, okay, let's go see what we can do out there to try to see how many people we can get. And I wanted that to be like the highlight, if you will, of the tour. So we wanted to start with that.
Great room too.
Oh yeah. I've never played there, so I'm excited.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, let me do a commercial break here, and then we'll be getting here to live pretty soon. So let me go do that. So, hey, folks, at this time, we'd like to remind you that not only are you listening to a kick-ass podcast, but we also produce an amazing rock music-themed cruise vacation called ShipRocked. We'll be sailing to Costa Maya and Cozumel on our 12th voyage in January 2022. Sail away into metal oblivion with Lamb of God, I Prevail, From Ashes New, Steel Panther. And also, well, Mike's going to be joining us. So Michael Vampire will be part of the show. This is our super group that we have on board. So by all means, come and check us out. Cabins are still available. You can go to shiprock.com to pick one of those up still. I think there's a very limited availability. But anyway, so we'll get back to our conversation now with Michael Vampire.
So we were just talking before now we're live. So we were just talking about this plan, the idea of how you sort of like put a pin in a map and move backwards. And I got to imagine, after not moving backwards or forwards with this band in particular for the past 5-6 years, every pin has got to feel fucking monumental for you. Just it's like I can only imagine what I would feel like, and I would feel like every single time that a win's a win type sort of situation. We're doing it. It's working. People are fucking coming. Shows are getting booked. How do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, it all starts from home, you know, with the rehearsal studio. I mean, I'm always thinking, okay, is my guitar player with the girl that has something? I mean, does she have COVID? I mean, like, is there, you know, is a family member sick? I mean, my tour manager's, sister was sick with COVID. I'm like, can we get through this to start the thing? You know, right. I mean, that was kind of the biggest thing, you know, us getting the bandwagon. We're like, oh man, are we going to be able to get this? Is someone going to be able to cop out? And then we'll lose this and we'll lose that. So there was all these like little minor things before we even got on the road. And the minute it left, I was like, okay, so now we're moving forward. And by show 1, you know, I was like, there's one down, and by 2, 3, 4, I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're definitely gonna do this. And once it started steamrolling, it was like it never happened. Can I say that? It was more of in the back of your mind. There were some rules and regulations along the way, but it wasn't to the point where you were being reminded every 5 seconds that we're in I don't want to say a post-pandemic, but maybe so, sort of scenario. For sure.
Yeah, you're constantly changing the like like you said, when you were on the West Coast, I would imagine that was a whole different deal than like Lawrence, Kansas or whatever it was, you know? And like, you're just rolling with the punches. I think that like, it's amazingly brave that out of all of the years to pick to like ignite that you're like, let's fucking go. So like, congratulations on that. It's huge.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's interesting because we come from touring like in Florida, and then we'll, go all the way through the Midwest, and then we'll hit Portland. I'm like, oh man, I need another big Jack Daniels bottle, And so I'll go, and that's priority. And I'll go into a liquor store in Portland, and just be completely bombarded and shut down. I need your Vax card. I need your mask needs to be over your nose. All these sort of things like boom, 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 boom. You go, whoa, because you weren't dealing with that the whole tour. You're like, oh yeah. We're in a pandemic.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Hey guys, well, everyone, thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. We are here with Michael Vampire. So if you guys have any questions, please pose them in the thread, and we're going to continue our conversation. And don't forget that this episode will drop on Monday, the 8th at 9 a.m. Eastern. So you guys can see the first half an hour. And then also, if you can, make sure and tell your friends about it, and share it and review and rate it. God, I'm just tongue twisted. It must be this Utah air. It's so clean.
You're in Utah?
I'm in Utah, brother.
What are you doing here? Did we ever talk about this? I don't remember you talking about Utah. Have you been? Do you guys play Utah on this tour, Michael?
We did. We played Salt Lake City. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Where are you? Are you in Salt Lake City, Justin?
No, I'm in Harriman, Utah. I'm over at Robin Lindsay's Animal Sanctuary for the week, helping out.
Oh, okay.
So here
Interesting.
we are. Yeah, out in the prairies.
When you would tour on this last run, do you have any like cities? This is me being selfish and asking. Do you have any like cities that like were super memorable? It's been a while since I've been on the road. I'm just trying to like, besides the major markets, which are always going to be much better. Do you have anything that let's just say, fuck, that was awesome,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the major markets for us are always really cool. I mean, I think what would be a curveball for this one? And I just sent it over. I think Des Moines is always a curveball. You're like, oh, Des Moines, and they always put you, I always get put in at lefties, and it's like, Slipknot started here, right? I'm like, yes, I do. And we always have a lot of fanatical fans there, and I love that. I love that. Tampa, Florida. That's definitely not a major market that we do, but we have a lot of adamant fans there. And as far as the major markets, man, I mean, Austin's one of my favorite places to play. So,
yeah. Tampa was it just, and this is again riffing here. Is that Orlando? What was the room in Tampa?
That's a Brass Mug, or it's the Orpheum.
Orpheum.
So yes, you could take your pick on either of those fantastic places. It was the Brass Mug this time for us for sure.
Well,
Nice.
Tampa makes sense though, because it's the home of American death metal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where all those bands, Cannibal Corpse, Death, Obituary, they're all from there. So yeah,
Death. Yep.
I would just say that Richmond, Virginia would probably feel like they sort of cross-pollinated at that period of time. Would I be wrong? Between Tampa and Richmond, Virginia, Justin?
I would think that maybe Richmond for more of the thrashier stuff, but
Sure.
Death is obviously the irony of Death coming from someplace as nice as Tampa.
Yeah.
But hey, what do you do? The sun at some point can just wear you down, and you just go, I just want to sing about death. Entrails and all that other shit. But anyway, so Mike, this year you're going to be a part of the Stowaways, man. Have you ever been on a cruise?
Yeah,
it's funny you say that, man, because I lived in Florida for half of my life, and my family has been on cruises 1 million times, and I have refused those cruises. So this will be my first voyage. I have absolutely no idea what to expect of what I'm even doing on the cruise. So I'm excited to see how that goes down as well. So.
Well,
lots of Jack Daniels for sure.
Lots of Jack. Yeah, lots of people buying you Jack. So that's always nice. Man, Chad's better at this because his band played it a lot of times. It became almost a house band. So he's better explaining what you're going to experience than I am.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would have to say, hold on. Have you been on long flights?
Oh, yeah.
What does your body feel like after that 15 hour flight or whatever?
Tight.
Okay. Do you know how, do you often have you been on like a vessel in the water of any sort that's larger than like a potty?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Did you have any sort of like weird seasickness feelings?
No, I'm good on all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to be right there on the when you exit the boat after the last day. And I'm going to ask you, how do you feel, son? And I'm expecting you to feel great, but also amazingly shitty in the best ways. Because my take on doing the ship as many times outside of playing is a whole different beast of a conversation. But being on a ship with the anxiety and emotions of knowing you have things to do, it's an overwhelming feeling of like pure viscosity, in the sense that like you're go and then you stop and you relax, and that's an incredible feeling when you're just on a boat and you don't have to do anything else. You play twice, right? And for you, you're going to do the stowaway, so you're going to do 1, 2, maybe 3 songs, and the rest of the time you're just going to be eating soft serve ice cream, watching a bunch of bands play, and getting to know some of the most amazing people in the world, of which they will all become lifelong fans, and you will have friends in the lowest and the highest places that you could ever imagine for the rest of your life.
Awesome.
That's my quick take on it.
That's a great way of explaining it, and I appreciate that.
And diarrhea. Don't forget the diarrhea.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we have a question from one of our ShipRockers, if that's cool with you, Michael, and ask you this. This is Karen. She'd like to know, would you rather live on the planet Mars or would you rather live under the sea in Atlantis?
Ooh, I want to say the planet Mars. There's no sharks there. I'm good on that.
There could be like space sharks.
There could be space sharks. Yeah.
How do you get away from them?
Oh man, I don't know how.
Bounce, no gravity. I'm heading to the Saturn. So there, Karen, he'd rather live on Mars. Him and David Bowie.
Yeah, there it is.
I have an existential question. Oh, sorry, Justin. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask. Do you want to? You can ask your existential, but we have our question from last week that was posed.
Yes. I was gonna hammer that one out after I asked this existential question. Hopefully, you have an existential question. Maybe we'll do a little walking of the plank. Or do you want to go?
No, mine's not existential. It's more like, if you had to choose.
Okay. Do you want me to go with this existential then?
Well, you've got me. I'm all ears for
Michael.
this.
Michael, what's the most spiritual experience that you've ever had in your life?
Spiritual. I'm very sensitive. I know this kind of, it's not so ironic, but I'm very sensitive to seeing paranormal stuff. And I had messed around with a Ouija board, and we had sat in the circle that we needed to do. We had cut our hands with the knives. We were all naked doing weird stuff. And so we had summoned something. And from that point, one of my ex-girlfriend's father came to visit us. We heard actual steps in the house. Our ceiling started to melt because I thought it'd be a good idea to mount the Ouija board in my recording studio. So there was black mold starting to melt from that. The energy in the house turned to almost, let's put it this very horrific. After I broke up with my ex and moved out of that apartment, stupidly enough, I moved catty corner to a different one so I could see it. I saw the spirit come down and look at me and just basically say goodbye. But that was that was very spiritual for me. And I have a lot of stories like that. I have to sleep with the TV on. I need static on the TV. It's very annoying, but it's also very inspirational.
It's very poltergeist.
It is.
Yeah. That was great.
During the ceiling dripping, did you guys have dropped acid or anything before, or was there a caveat to this?
Well, it's interesting, man, because we're living in this apartment and we had a 24-hour maintenance, and the maintenance guy, I knew him pretty well because he had helped me out a bunch of times, and he came in. I was like, man, there's something wrong, man. It looks like black mold, and he had tested it. He's like, we don't really even know what this is. I've never seen this before in this apartment complex. Your ceiling is completely melting. There's a hole in it. Stupid, it's funny because if you ever mess with a Ouija board, Milton Bradley makes these things, and they make it safe for children. So we tried to burn the board, and when it couldn't burn, that was the last straw for me, man. So I just hid it under something.
Well, it has that resin on it that I don't think it's flammable.
It's not. Yeah, it can burn.
Has anyone ever done like a background search on Milton Bradley? Like, what's their start? Are they into the occult? What was going on with those guys? I mean, this might look innocent, but fuck it, A.
Well, you never know with those corporate agencies, man. It's like adrenochrome central, so you never know.
He's over there with the power drills.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
My question is twofold, and I'll just you're Michael Vampire, so I got to ask, greatest vampire of all time in cinema.
Oh man, I'm going to be biased on this because I love The Lost Boys. I mean, David from The Lost Boys is one of my favorites. Sarandon over there in Fright Night, when he did Fright Night, he was fantastic. The original Fright Night.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I mean, Gary Oldman and Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, that was a hard one. I can go hard on this, man. I mean, there's no one for me, but those are some of my favorites for sure. Those are some of my favorites.
No Christopher Lee, noted.
I didn't hate Christopher Lee, mind you. I didn't hate him, but he had a cheese thing to him, but he was kind of horrific looking.
Well, that's Hammer. Hammer's so cheesy. Crimson, the Crimson Blood. How about to kind of like mirror that? How about favorite? You have to leave Lost Boys out. Other than Lost Boys, favorite vampire movie?
I really liked Let the Right One In.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
I thought that one was great. Obviously the original, I really liked that.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic for me, man. I mean, as a kid though, it was Fright Night because that was cheesy and had its deal. But yeah,
What'd you think of the one with Colin Farrell?
I loved that one, man. I thought he really did well. Especially him eating those apples. It really freaked me. It's not hard. You didn't get scared from it. It's always campy, but I like the sadistic evil vampires, man, that look good. It's kind of my vibe.
I'll tell you, it's funny, you and I talked before this, is like, I'm a big fan of vampire. The one I always go to recently, I've always 30 Days a Night. It's just visceral. It's just violent. It's just flat out violent. And a great story though. It's very original, but yeah, so when I think about that, but the Colin Farrell one he was much more visceral than Sarandon in the original.
Oh, absolutely, man. And not to jump ahead on anything new, but if you haven't seen Midnight Mass yet on Netflix, I highly suggest it.
I have not seen that one.
I didn't see it, but I saw the
Midnight Mass. It'll blow your mind. Yep.
What was the one? Do you know this one that was out? It was a black and white from a few years ago, and it's an Iranian film. And it's a black and white shot, and it was done. It's subtitled in English, but it was about this Iranian vampire. It was the strangest thing. It's beautifully shot, but I can't remember for the life of me. I have to look that up again.
Let me know. I don't know that one. I've been watching some really obscure stuff on Netflix too. Like they're just putting stuff together, man. Like in all these crazy countries, it's like, and there's all these subtitles. You're like, I have no idea what the hell is going on here. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, Chad, you want to ask our guest from last week?
Yeah. So what we're doing here is last week was the first week we asked our guests to do this. So you'll follow along. You'll understand here in a second. But it is a question to you without knowing who you were going to be, because we didn't tell last week's guest who it was. Last week's guest was Jason Hook from previously of Five Finger Death Punch. He was in many of other guitar roles over his lifetime. He wanted to ask our guest, what inspired you to make sacrifices to get where you are, and what advice would you give to somebody trying to get there today?
That's a great question. I'm one of those people that don't give up. Once I start something and I fall in love with it and I have a passion for it, I'm determined to follow through and kind of seek the light, if you will. I mean, I can't stop something that I'm in love with. And I think consistency is key. I think that the importance of this is you're going to have a lot of people in your ear along the way telling you what you should and should not do. And I've had that happen to me. And I've been in a lot of situations where I had changed the project obviously from the one I'm in today. And I think keeping consistent with the passion that you have for your band and the love you have for music is something that'll keep you going. And you know, try to be tunnel visioned on that and follow your gut. It's important.
Well, I hope he listens, because that was good. So now the second part of this is, what would you like to ask our guest next week? And I can't tell you who it is.
Oh man. I would say, what is your favorite part of touring?
Okay. Just the sound of me typing it, just so everybody knows I'm taking it seriously.
You know, it's interesting between friends and stuff like that, you know, why people get into music in general, but touring is a whole other animal. So I'm curious what would be his favorite part, or she.
Me too.
Well, let me ask you, what is your favorite part of touring?
Oh man, my favorite part is playing the music, getting on stage. Everything else to me is absolutely insane.
Same.
Insane. I mean, the waiting, that's first, you know, when we headline, the waiting, you know, trying to determine when I should space out my drinks, when I should have them, you know, what to do with yourself, you know,
Sure.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's actually getting on stage and playing the show. Everything else that revolves around that is the hardest thing in the planet.
Yeah. What is there a favorite 3 o'clock in the morning convenience store food you like?
Oh man.
It's a super important question.
We always end up at a Love's, and there's always a Subway open. And there's always a disgusting concoction that is made. And if it's not a Love's Subway, it's a Love's Arby's. We always, I mean, if you know Loaves or Loves, whatever, I think it's Loves.
It's Loves.
Yeah.
I think so have you ever seen Megamind? I mean, someone in my band just like Loaves the whole time. Like, I think it's Loves, man. But
she's just juicing it up.
Yeah, Loaves.
Dude, have you been to a Wawa? That's my only oh yeah.
I have, and I regretted every minute of that. And you know what? And I always go back, and I'm like, no, I'm not eating this again. And it's a rough morning, because you know what? If you're a bus or a bandwagon or any sort of deal like that, like you better park at a truck stop. Let's just say that, or you better park close to a bathroom, because you're going to be like run down like a Christmas goose, man, because you need you know what I mean?
Well,
the people.
I was gonna say, a lot of people like love that thing. What are you telling me? It's not good?
It's fine. It's fine, but it's you know, I would say, so, you know, and Subway's not the best place, you know, for the most organic food there. So this would be a little below that. And of course, it's in a gas station, and it's made to order. So they're just plopping things together, man. You can make the most obscure things. It's like eating a fat Sal's. Have you ever eaten there? You know, it's like, let's just put, you know, mozzarella sticks, ham, turkey, and, you know, pizza together on a sandwich, and let's eat up. So yeah.
And then let them pick it on a screen. You know, like you can figure out how you got there. The best, just while we're on the subject, I think the best gas station dinner of all time in my career has been from Buc-ee's. If you haven't been, that's the jam. When you go to Buc-ee's, it's like a whole thing. It's like Christmas on the road. You spend like an hour. I used to like,
dude,
legitimately
it is
pace my shit.
Dude. Why Buc-ee's hasn't expanded beyond certain states is beyond me, because it's your best friend.
Some muscle behind that for sure.
Yeah.
Miter's like not gonna happen or something.
Yeah.
Whatever version of it.
Right. Anyway,
yeah.
So obviously 2022 is coming up, Michael, other than being a guest on ShipRocked and doing your thing there and starting a tour in February. Anything else beyond the EP?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it's very important nowadays, man. It's crazy because, you know, I have my own boutique label, and I help artists write and do all this kind of stuff as well. And, you know, I'm very analytical of the industry. And, you know, right now putting out consistent music is super important, because, you know, you have that moment back in the day where you put out your LP and you're like, I'm going to write off this for the year, you know, and this is going to be fantastic. I can take a break off it. It ain't like that anymore. Now you got to you put out an EP about 2-3 months, and now you should probably put out another one. Because people's attention spans at this point in time are just, and you know, music videos aren't even the same as used to be. Everything you know, you put out a music video, you got about 2 weeks on that, and then everyone's like, that was good, see you later. So I'm gonna keep putting out music, keep putting out videos, and keep touring. You know, I want to just keep seeing our fans and building it back up.
So is that then better if you say you have a whole LP? Is it better now to just break it into like 3 sections a day? We're going to drop 4 songs in this, and then maybe 3 months later we'll drop another 4 songs. Everything's like an EP career.
I mean, from my perspective, yes. I don't know a lot of my friends that listen to song 1 through 3 and they go, you know what, I'm listening to song 13. Right. I don't see that. I mean, a lot of the times they're listening to your most popular covers, you know, popular singles. You may go through your discography on Spotify, but even me, who I'm a big, I don't know if you heard the band The Midnight. They're like an 80s kind of retro band. I have my 5 songs. They have a discography of about 7 or 8 albums. I'm not visiting those. You know, it is just the way it goes. You like what you like at the time and you want that vibe. So I feel like the EP is the way to go.
Yeah.
I can get behind that too. I mean, I think it's important to just to chime into it. I think it's important to think about the consumer and how much there is available. When you're a fan of somebody, you know, when you built up that sort of situation where you've done this, getting your sea legs in this place, you can put out a record. And but mostly what's happening nowadays is you got 2 or 3 EPs. The majority of those EPs make it onto an LP with some new songs, which is basically just another EP. And then it's just re-released with new artwork and some goodies, right? That's the trickle effect to the whole. And you're touring on that before that EP even comes out, the first EP of that, you know? And it's like,
no. It's absolutely, man. You know, when everyone's trying to, you know, mess with the algorithms, you know, trying to figure out how to work it, because we're all, you know, everything that we have known to love on social media has become pay to play. And it's hard to muscle through that. So everyone's trying to adopt, you know, the rap and the pop aspects of it, of like, okay, well, I'll put out a single with the same ISRC code, and then I'll put out 5 more songs, you know, that have that ISRC code. So that build goes into your EP, so then you have a lot more streaming. And I think that's what people are starting to think about right now, you know, because if you do that with a full length, it's a lot different and it's a lot more expensive for sure.
Yeah. And the load's gone, you know?
Yeah.
So Justin's like, okay, well.
Let there be light. Thank you.
He's like, we're gone now.
No. Well, listen, it's hard, you know, coming up from someone who's like an LP guy, and I'm one of those guys. If I like the band, I'm going to investigate everything, just because, you know, I get very selective in my thing. But the idea of EPs nowadays, with like Mike, as you mentioned, attention spans of people and the cycle that people go through music now, it's just they just churn and burn it. So yeah, the EP makes complete sense, and I think it's just a smart play. And you know, the hell. And you're right, music videos have gotten different, because now artists basically are funding their own videos because they're cheaper to make these days.
Absolutely.
For the most part. But well, man, we've had you for nearly an hour, dude, and it's been great fun. Thank you for thank you for entertaining my vampire stuff. I'm just a huge fan. So
anytime,
guys, yeah, is there a place that people can check you out, like your IG and like website, if you want to let people know where they can go to find you and check your stuff out?
Absolutely, man. You can go into Instagram. I'm the real Michael Vampire, because someone stole the other Michael Vampire. You can go on to Vampires Everywhere Official on IG. On Facebook, it's Vampires Everywhere Official, and Michael Vampire on Twitter. We're all over there. Please Google us, check us out. And I'm excited to be on ShipRocked this year as a stowaway. And, you know, it's an honor to do it. And I've always followed you guys, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see who you pair up with and do some songs for us.
Yeah,
anyway, guys, yeah, make sure and check out the new EP, The Awakening. It's on Cleopatra Records. Go ahead and go to your favorite streaming place. Or is it available in brick and mortar? Can they go and buy the actual vinyl or a CD of this?
On tour, you can. I'm about to put that on our online store, so give me a week or so, you'll get it. You'll get one.
Absolutely. And if you guys are really interested in checking something out that's kind of a left turn for them, check out their Vampires Everywhere cover of The Weeknd's The Hills. It's a lot of fun.
Really good.
So it's really good. Chad gives it his seal of approval. And as he mentioned, January 2022, we're going to see him on the boat. So anyway, guys, listen, thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, thank you, Michael, and thank you for supplying the question for next week for our guest. And Guys, just want to thank my co-host here, Chad Nicefield. Thank you, Chad, as always.
You're
my
welcome,
friend.
Justin.
And everyone that asked for entertainment, including our show producer, Al McManus, our show engineer, Jennifer Zito, show coordinator, Heather Smith, Danny Hill, the captain, Alan, and then our guest service angels, Kathy and Peggy. So thank you, everyone. We just remind you guys to rock hard and vacation harder. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great weekend. Michael, once again, thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
See you soon, buddy.
All right.
Thanks again.